Hello, and welcome back to Words and Pixels. It's been a hot minute, I apologize. Part of my duties at work is making videos for my job, so my MacBook and my camera and my equipment has been mostly tied up in doing that. But that's starting to slow down a little bit now, and things are starting to go back to normal, so I'm hoping to resume a normal update schedule from now on. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to just do a little catch up and let you guys know where I'm at right now and what I'm going to be doing moving forward. So first off, I am going to be doing another AI dungeon video. I had a great time filming the first one. It was so much fun. It seemed like people really enjoyed it, so I will be doing another one of those very shortly. I've also been thinking about possibly uploading stuff to TikTok. I did create an account, I'm going to link it down below. But the topic of the video and the reason I'm here is to do a little catch up on where I'm at with my current works in progress and just document that process of writing a little bit. Again, the purpose of the series is really to be able to look back and see what the full process of writing a book was like. You know, I really want to be able to document everything from me working on a draft to me eventually querying agents and hopefully one day getting published if the cards fall that way. And if they don't, then, oh well, whatever. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I want to document that whole journey. So this is just a check-in on where my projects are currently at. So one of my projects, which I have mentioned frequently in the past, is Legendary. That is, I would say, my main work in progress right now, and it's the one that is the furthest along. Potentially the furthest I've ever gotten on an extremely long novel-length project like this, or original novel-length project at least. During the quarantine, I had a lot of time to work on Legendary, and it was a bit of a hot mess. I did a writing vlog where I was working on the second draft of Legendary, so let's roll the footage there. I'm not doing Camp NaNoWriMo, I'm doing draft 2 of Legendary. I had gotten through about I'd say a third of the draft, but I really want to focus in April and finish this last 2/3, so we're going to just sit down today and get through whatever we can. I'm not really looking forward to this session because I have to write a fight scene, and I hate fight scenes. Finally made it past the entire fight scene. It's not good. It's really quite terrible, but at least it's written down and I can expand it and change it and do whatever I want with it later. But I always feel a little better when I just have the bare bones of a scene just down on the page. That way they're there, it's out of my head, and then I can move on to the next thing. So the next couple parts I'm actually excited to write. Yeah, so that was the second draft. My initial plan there was to finish that draft and then just move on to a different project, but that's not what ended up happening. I got about 2/3 of the way through that draft and then had a really good idea for the ending, which was groundbreaking for me. This is not the ending that I planned on having originally, but once I had the idea, I couldn't let it go. And it was kind of devastating because I had spent a whole 2 months writing that second draft and then had to go back and rewrite everything, pretty much. For the ending that I had in mind to work, it meant rewriting so much of the draft and undoing a lot of the hard work that I had already done. It needed a different beginning, it needed different story beats for it to work. It required such a huge overhaul of what I originally had planned. There was new characters that got added in, there was new events that got added in, certain events already there got shifted, characters' motivations changed, including the motivations of one of the 2 main characters, and he's kind of a big deal in the story, pretty much a secondary protagonist, I would say. So it destroyed all of my forward progress. because I had to go back and create this new draft. So now I have a third draft of that finished. I wouldn't say it's a super solid draft if I'm going to be 100% honest, but I do think all of the plot events are in the correct order now. Like everything that's going to happen is written there. I really have to just go back and find my flow, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. It's written, but it's very choppy and very rough, so I kind of have to go back and really write a good, clean draft where I really spend time on things like description and characterization, because I don't really focus on those in my rough drafts. In my rough drafts, I'm really trying to get the events in order on the page, because I feel like if I put a lot of time into description, characterization, and then a plot event needs to change, then all that hard work ends up being undone, which is almost what happened here. But luckily I hadn't gone too deep into that draft. Like I hadn't spent hours carefully crafting paragraphs. It was still a draft. So hopefully I will be returning to this project later in the year. Right now, I think I need a break from it. Honestly, I wrote the same story basically 3 times by this point, and I just need to take a little time away from it. I already have some ideas on things that do need to be added in, and some ways that I can clean it up and make the dialogue a little better, like just little changes I already have in mind, but I feel like I don't want to do any of that until I have some distance and perspective on it. So I am going to be leaving Legendary in its third draft for now, and then hopefully towards the end of the year or early next year, I'll come back and we'll do a clean, fresh draft that is going to look a little more like what the final published version will look like. So now I'm going to be returning to a project that I'd worked on for NaNoWriMo, which is called the Nightmare Initiative. So I'm going to link my NaNoWriMo account down below. I will be participating in the July NaNoWriMo, which is Camp NaNoWriMo. The rules for Camp NaNoWriMo are much looser than the rules for regular NaNoWriMo. I haven't decided how I want to actually quantify what I'm doing. Nightmare Initiative was a project that I had done for November NaNoWriMo. I recently reread it. Obviously, I'm going to be editing during this draft. I recently reread it, and I was surprised at how complete that draft felt. Like Legendary, I remember being an extremely rough draft and finishing it and thinking it was bad, and then coming back months later and being like, yeah, this is bad. Something needs to change here. But Nightmare Initiative is pretty solid. Like, it needs so many drafts and a lot of work. I'm not saying, like, I pooped out gold or something. I did not. It's still a rough draft. It's still extremely rough. But I feel like it's workable, and I don't think it's going to need changes as extensive as Legendary. With Legendary, I changed the entire plot, pretty much. That's what I spent 3 drafts doing. With Nightmare Initiative, I don't think it's going to be as drastic. I think the bones of it are there. I think it's just a matter of adding in some scenes and some explanations and really getting in there and making sure my descriptions are good and the character arcs that were already there. They're already there. They're already planned, but I do want to make sure that those are strong, and each character, I say each of the 3 main characters, has their little arc. I am feeling hopeful about this one. I think the process of writing this one right now is going to be a lot less painful than the process of writing Legendary. So I'm going to work on that for July NaNoWriMo. Haven't decided how to actually quantify it. That's going to be the hard thing. Recently I was watching a video by Kate Kavanaugh where she said what she was going to do, since they don't have time goals yet on NaNoWriMo, which I'm not sure why. I think they said that they were working on it for editing, because right now you can only mark editing in pages, and that just doesn't work for what I'm doing. So Kate Kavanaugh said that she was going to do something where she just had a goal of 30 pages, and if she succeeded for the day, it counts as a page. And then obviously you would try to make sure you had a session every day, and that would be it. And I think I'm going to do something similar to that, because I just can't think of any other way to quantify it. If you guys have a good way that you quantify editing in NaNoWriMo, please let me know, because I'm very stumped with that. And then of course we have November NaNoWriMo, which is the biggie NaNoWriMo. For November NaNoWriMo, I am going to be writing a fresh project, I think. I do not have a title for it yet. It is not one that I've mentioned on this channel, but I have wanted to write this one for a long time, and I had actually done quite a bit of planning and world building on it, because I had intended to do it for a previous NaNoWriMo and just never got around to it. But now I think I'm ready to settle in and write it. So that'll be a fresh project that I'll give more details about when I actually get closer to NaNoWriMo season. So that's what the rest of my year looks like. I'm currently going to let Legendary sit and cool off. I'm going to be going all in on the Nightmare Initiative for July, August, September, and then once I get into October, I'm going to pivot into planning the new project, and then we're going to do a fresh project for NaNoWriMo in November. And then in December, once I've recovered from NaNoWriMo, I will dip back into Legendary and see where I'm standing with that draft. But that's it. That's where I'm at with my writing and my channel at the moment. But thank you all for watching. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and keep an eye out for more regularly scheduled content in the near future. Have a good one. Bye.